You might be wondering what it takes to get into a print magazine. And obviously, print magazine is one of those coveted things that once you get in, it's really amazing. Because if you think about it, print lasts essentially forever, right? As long as you have this tangible print magazine, you are in it. And when you are a salesperson in real estate, a small business owner of any kind, that kind of authority really establishes and puts out into the world the credibility that you want and you need, right? And that's the advantage of getting into this kind of media. So as a previous magazine publisher myself, I have a lot of knowledge of how it worked. I founded Art Hive magazine. We started in 2012 and we ended in 2020. And so for 8 years, I had a lot of experience about what it really takes to get into print. And I'm going to tell you what I've figured out. So the first thing you're going to want to first note is you're going to want to know, pay attention to the frequency of the publication and also pay attention to the editorial calendar, okay? So if you are looking at local magazines, for example, are they monthly? Are they bi-monthly every other month? And are they quarterly? Take a look at what the content calendar, their editorial calendar looks like. So their editorial will say fashion in January, business in February, right? And so you're gonna wanna pop yourself into that. Now, our publication did not have an editorial calendar, so really, I guess it was a free-for-all. When somebody would send content to us, they wouldn't really know where it fit in. So pay attention to that first and foremost. And secondly, who is writing in the magazine? A lot of the times these magazine writers are probably freelance. They're not going to be most likely full-time employees. So they're going to be working with the magazine maybe every issue, maybe not every issue, depending on how the frequency works out. And so use it to your advantage. See what kind of content that you fit into and what that said writer is writing on, right? And see how you can fit into all of this. The second thing you're going to want to pay attention to is you're going to want to make sure to know how your story fits in and adds value. That's a very important word to constantly be ringing into the back of your mind. What is the value I bring? Now, this is something you're going to have to dissect yourself and really think about it. Take a look at the magazine, right? And let's just use the magazine that I made so it'll be easier for me to think of an example. So we had an arts and business and technology magazine. So, right, if you kind of fit within one of those categories, it was a very great kind of content to have in the publication. So you need to think about how to make the content something that's going to pop off the screen and make me go, wow, I need to get this content into the magazine. But also, how does it relate to the reader? Right? Because people are reading magazines. And when we make a headline in a magazine, we are thinking about the readers in mind. Who is our reader? What is the kind of content that they want? And what do they want to hear from me? And what's going to make my audience happy? So this is what I'm thinking about when I'm going to look at content. So if you're thinking about what I'm thinking about, now you're creating a win-win situation, right? Because now we're both thinking about the same thing. If you don't do that and you're only thinking about how does this personally benefit me? This is so great. I'm going to be in a magazine, and you write the content of your article or your pitch to us based off that premise, it'll be very clear when we read it. I want you to think for 1 second, but how many times editorial magazines and content is being pushed into their inbox all the time? Everyone's trying to get in there. So how do you stick out and write a headline that makes somebody say, that's interesting? A unique angle you could make is, how does it particularly affect your community? How does it particularly affect your business clients? Think about it in a way. If you don't know how, look at how magazines write headlines. Look at how magazines write articles. If you notice, they don't just put a blanketed random statement. They do something to pique the interest. So you're going to have to even dissect yourself. A recommendation is you could probably take your article or your pitch or whatever you're going to send to somebody else and say, does this intrigue you? Is there something I could pull out of there that's like a headline that I could, use to pitch myself to get in a magazine? Because if sometimes when you're too close to something, you don't really know how to explain it better, right? So send it to somebody else, somebody you respect. and that you value their opinion, and don't be sensitive about it, right? Just take it for what it is and use that content, right? And use it to your advantage, that whatever they're helping you say or do, so you can get into the magazine. And the last thing I want you to think about, because this is the most important, if you submit and you don't hear back, or you get a no may just mean not right now, okay? So think about what I'm thinking about when I was a magazine publisher. I'm putting all this content together. Let's say we do a super intense issue on local small businesses, and the whole issue is based around that. And you're pitching me something on a completely different topic. It's not that it's not interesting. It's not that it's not amazing and valid. However, I'm only thinking about these small businesses that I have to put, because that's the whole content of the magazine. Now what's happening is that you're assuming that I don't like it. That's not true. It's just bad timing. So what happens? You get all discouraged and then you don't resubmit. I don't remember, because I'm a small business owner myself. I don't have a bunch of assistants or people paying attention to log the content or go back to this person. I'm expecting you to come back and pitch again at the better timing, okay? So remind yourself of that. And you can do this in very calm ways. You don't want to be aggressive. That'll turn the person off even more. But if you are persistent and also polite, that's another thing, right? You respond, you don't hear back, then maybe you say, you know what? Next time I'm going to try in a few months and reiterate it again. And maybe I'll try again. And maybe I'll try again. And you know what happens is when you're kind and you're leading with value and you're asking and you're just wondering, people are responsive to that. Okay? So I hope these tips kind of help you start to think about what do magazine publishers think about and what do they do. And if this helps you to get into a magazine, please let me know, because I would love to know if this really did help you. So I hope this can get you on the journey of being in a magazine in no time.